Transition to college. Even for the best prepared high school valedictorian, the transition to college can be a bit rough. And for ADD students, it's even more so. A lot of people think, well, I did really well in high school. Why do you say that college is going to be so tough? Or why is it that college has become so tough? The problem is, in high school, you think you're really doing it all on your own, but there's still a lot of artificial structure enforced. So now you go into college and you're not required to go to classes or to be on time. You're also not required to turn things in at a particular time. In fact, you may have only one paper or one exam an entire semester. So everything is on your own. You can do as much as you want or as little as you want. Classes are typically large and impersonal. You can have a large auditorium filled with up to 500 students for a 101 or entry-level core curriculum class such as English or Bio. It's very easy to fall behind with the small amount of work you have to physically turn in, but the huge workload you must do to keep up. You could have 10 chapters to read in a month, although they're not going to quiz you on any of them. Without any checking on you or making sure that you're doing the reading or practice problems, it becomes really easy to fall behind and dig yourself a deep hole or perhaps an early grave. Perhaps you're in an English 101 class with only one paper due this semester. Sure, it's 20 pages, but you think to yourself, how bad can it be? Maybe it's not that tough, but then again, if it's your only paper, they're going to be expecting a lot out of you. Do you know how to organize and structure 20 pages? Or do extensive research for a topic? And can you get it done with all of your competing demands? Any one assignment or test in college isn't that bad. Trouble is, you don't exist in a vacuum. College is like the Wild West, and you'll be pulled in 100 different directions with no support, structure, or guidance to keep you on task. Do you want to join a club or team? How about make new friends? And what about that part-time job you wanted? And well, you get the picture. Now add that to the 20-page paper that's due tomorrow because you haven't started it yet, plus that other assignment due this afternoon, and that midterm on Monday, after the weekend where you were gone with friends on Saturday and working all day on Sunday. In college, you're constantly pulled in a dozen different directions, and it's very hard to figure out how to structure things and keep going. Your support network's also gone, and college can be a cold, cruel world. Socially, it's not nearly as forgiving as high school. Sure, you don't have the cliques, and it's a lot easier to fit in. However, in high school, your friends have been with you for a long time. They knew your quirks and were willing to accept them. But now in college, students see you as having a little quirk or something that's out of order. Maybe you've just said hi to them and said, "Hi, what an ugly sweater." In high school, they may just have said, "Oh well, that's just Michael." But in college, they may just say next and move on to find new friends. So you don't have the same forgiving support network. Why the transition to college is so tough. College has the unique ability to take the most well-prepared ADD high school student and turn them into a pile of quivering mud. This isn't meant to scare you away. It just means that you may have a challenge on your hands. Don't look at it as a problem. Look at it as an opportunity for a solution. Since you're here listening to this audiobook, you'll get through, you'll learn the tricks to negotiating the dangerous, shark-infested waters of college. Going to college is like entering the Wild West. No rules, no structure, just gunfights, bar brawls, and wild saloons. Okay, you'd better not tell this to your mom or you'll be in a military academy before you know it. There's a lack of support. In high school, your teachers knew immediately if there were problems, kept you from falling behind, and helped you stay on track. Your parents were also there to provide support and structure. Friends help with support if you got in trouble as well. College can feel very daunting because you can feel all alone or without any of the support that you need. How do I make the transition easier? There are 2 keys to success. First is understanding the problem. Second is logistics. The fact you're listening to this helps a bunch. Identifying the problem is half the battle, and we have that one down. College is much more difficult than high school. Knowing what you're in for helps you avoid many of the common pitfalls. Logistics is looking at the pieces of the puzzle and setting yourself up for success. So now let's look at the major pieces of the puzzle. Structure. Like it or not, high school provided a great deal of structure. You knew when you'd be where, what time you'd wake, eat, sprint for classes, and more. You knew if and when you'd have time for study and when you could crash. With pop quizzes and daily assignments, teachers made sure you got the work done, and they even told you how to do your problems, writing or otherwise. In many ways, it was too rigid for the ADD mind. However, it kept us from getting completely lost in the woods. Not so in college. In most colleges, any and all structure goes right out the window. It goes from something that was externally enforced, such as teachers taking attendance, to something that must become internally enforced. Show up or pay the price. In other words, if you don't attend class, it's your own problem that you'll have to deal with. There's also a lack of structure all around you. Classes are held in different buildings at different times on different days. You may even have a class that's broken into pieces. Perhaps Biology 101 meets on Monday and Thursday morning in room 345 of the lecture hall building at 9:45 to 11 a.m. But labs are held in the science building, room 212, at 2:15 to 4 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Maybe it even switches depending on the week or guest lecturer. This can be very confusing. Meals aren't scheduled, too. You can eat any time you want. Cafeterias are open during a wide range of hours. And with ADD, you may forget or skip meals entirely. While we all have to watch for the freshman 15, for ADDers, the problem is often one of running out of energy, turning into skin or bones, or constant blood sugar crashes because of the lack of any consistency in our eating habits, such as what, when, and where. If it weren't for the late-night runs to 7-Eleven or the vending machine, we might not eat anything at all. Your room also has no structure. When you first move in, it's completely empty. No furniture, no layout, nothing. While it looks like fun, depending on how you set up, you're in for a nightmare. Your time also has no structure. You can choose to attend class or not. You can do any of 1,000 different things offered all at the same time. You can sleep when you want, eat when you want, hang out with friends when you want. You don't even have to go to sleep if you don't want to. To succeed in college, you'll need to build some internal structure. You'll have to assign time for things and make rules for things, such as, I won't miss class, or I'll keep up with the reading assignments so I don't fall far behind. Don't worry, I'll show you ways to make this simpler. As ADDers, we need accountability to get things done, so we'll build that into your internal structure. This typically involves scheduling, routine building, and recruiting assistants, all of which we'll cover ahead. Freedom. Along the lines of missing structure is incredible freedom. If it's not illegal, or sometimes even if it is, you can do almost anything you want, period. For ADDers, we're often swinging from the rafters or lost and overwhelmed. There is so much freedom at college. Do what you want, when you want, or if you want. It's easy to end up like a kid in a candy store, overwhelmed by the variety of choices and activities around you. Many times we'll lose an entire semester before we realize what we've done. 1 minute we're thinking we're okay, and then blammo, everything hits at once and we realize that freedom was just building a mean and nasty cage to trap ourselves in. Don't sweat this either. There are ways to give yourself freedom and the structure you need to survive. It's a balance game. One in which you need to have fun and at the same time get at least a little work done. Since freedom's a double-edged sword, we'll look at building a routine to make it easier to get things under control. Support. There's little built-in support in college. Unlike high school, many college lecturers won't even know you. It's also very unlikely they'll notice you're struggling until it's too late. While guidance counselors are available, they too have such a large number of students it's easy to fall through the cracks. And though we may not like to admit it, our parents aren't there to lean on and help when the going gets rough. It all adds up to a feeling of being alone in the world, with an unclear direction of where to turn for help. To get the support you need means making it easy to ask for help and work with others for support and accountability. For instance, if you know you'll have a difficult multi-step assignment due for history, you may talk with the professor and ask to show her a piece of your project a week for 4 weeks, leading up to the due date. This helps you get the support you need while making you accountable to getting it done. We'll look at lots of ways to get you the support you need without making it a chore. The goal is to get you support to make things easier and more enjoyable, not for the purpose of torture. Classes. A 500-person lecture hall can be quite daunting. The professor doesn't know you, and you know no one else around you. There are tons of distractions in class to deal with, and it may be very difficult to follow the professor's lecture. The teaching style is also quite different. Where before you were taught, that is, the teacher gave you the information they wanted you to learn, now you must learn. That means you must disseminate the information you're giving, sifting through it to determine what's important and what can be thrown away. It can be a very tedious or frustrating task if you're unsure how to sift through the massive quantity of information. Assignments are more important, but fewer and farther in between. Whether it's writing papers or taking tests, there are often very few official assignments in a semester. It's not uncommon in your first class to have only 1 or 2 papers, a midterm, and a final. While this may sound like nirvana, a chance to slack off and do minimal work, it can be a setup for failure. With so few papers, you have few chances to get things right, and with only 2 tests, each of which may contain thousands of pages worth of material and hundreds of hours of lectures, should you fall behind early or try to cram like you did in high school, you could be in for a terrible disaster. Here it becomes especially important to keep up with the material or fall very easily far behind. You could have chapter upon chapter of reading to do a night, but no quizzes or checks to help you or force you to stay on track. There are also no warnings that a paper is coming or a test is desperately close on the horizon. The professor may not even mention a midterm is coming up. One day you may show up for class and your worst nightmare has been realized. It's midterm day, you haven't begun to do your reading, didn't realize the test was today, and haven't even begun to prepare. Not only are assignments fewer and farther in between, but they offer a very high degree of freedom and are their own mini traps. You may have to write a 20-page paper in English on a novel you just read, but you're not given a specific topic, or structure, or format to use for the paper. You have no idea what the professor would want, how to organize the paper, or what are acceptable and unacceptable topics. There's so little structure in the assignment itself, and it's easy to get stuck and not know where to begin. Tests are very similar too. There can be so much material to study you have no idea where to begin or how to organize it all. The solution here is to keep from falling behind, understand what you're not understanding, and seek help and guidance before it's too late. The best way to do this is a systematic approach. Knowing what you'll do when keeps you from falling behind and without having to push yourself to get it done. Academic support. While we'd like to believe that we did things totally on our own in high school, this isn't exactly the case. If we started to fall behind, chances are someone noticed and someone cared. A teacher would say something, a guidance counselor, someone somewhere up or down the line would likely catch you before you completely bombed or fell between the cracks. Not so in college. There's a complete lack of support. In high school, your teachers knew immediately if there were problems, kept you from falling behind, and helped you keep on track. Your parents were also there to provide support and structure. Friends helped with support too if you got in trouble as well. In college, with very few academic checks in place, it's easy to bomb an entire semester before you even know it. College can feel very daunting because you can feel all alone or without any of the support that you need. Competing demands. In college, it's almost impossible to keep yourself from being pulled in 1,000 directions. Even if you wanted to lock yourself in a room and focus solely on your studies, good luck. You may have roommates or friends, and you still have to leave your room to eat. Distractions are everywhere and unavoidable. There are clubs to join, sports to participate in. There are concerts on the weekend, guest lecturers, sorority and fraternities to join, movies to watch, and fairs to attend. Everywhere around you there's something designed to grab your attention and pull you off task. It's as if you're at the county fair and each carny's trying to get you on his ride, or game, or a show. Learning how to beat this environment and stay on task takes skills far and above what you've likely learned in high school. Here it's not just say no to drugs, but say no to 1,000 things around you, select a few to say yes to, and know how to budget your time to still get your schoolwork done. Friends. Your friends were your own personal support network in high school. Chances are they knew you since childhood and accepted your quirks. They'd support you no matter what, and they'd be there to lend a hand. They'd sympathize during your struggles and help motivate you to stay on task. And they'd understand you, understand your needs, and what you're going through. They wouldn't be judgmental. They'd accept you just the way you are. It'd be nice if these friends were still with us in college, but instead we're faced with making new friends. Now this can be an exciting and fun time, but there are huge pitfalls as well. You must choose your friends carefully. People will also be more judgmental, they're less accepting of your quirks, or your inability to read social cues. And they can be cruel. College students are much quicker to cut you off as a friend if they feel offended. They haven't known you for years and can always move on to the next friend. So now you're surrounded by hundreds or thousands of new faces, but it's hard to have that group of friends to support you. Conclusion. Going from high school to college can be a daunting challenge. You must overcome chaos, focus on the task at hand, and develop your own support network. Distractions are around every turn, and classes can be large and cold. Without structure, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and quickly fall behind. But you have an advantage. You're listening to this audiobook and planning ahead. You're figuring out what strategies will be needed to succeed in school. Follow the tips and strategies in this book and you will succeed.